Welcome to the Holistic Career Change Podcast, one-stop shop for everyone feeling stuck in their career and who are looking to identify, change, and succeed at their new fulfilling work. I'm your host, Vilma Oseita. Let's go. Hi, beautiful people. How are you? I hope you're keeping safe and I hope you're feeling inspired. I have an important episode for you today, if I may say so myself. This has been a theme lately in my practice where I'm noticing that some of my clients really need a reminder in this one. So I thought I'd just turn it into an episode so you could benefit as well. So if you're someone who feels miserable at your current career of choice, or perhaps you even feel like you didn't even choose your career, but rather fell into it, like circumstantially when one thing led to another, or perhaps you were sold a certain career as the career for you, you may end up feeling resentful and unhappy, having to suffer through that misalignment between who you are at your core, what your mission is, where your meaning and fulfillment lie, and what you have to do and what you have to experience daily at the current work environment. It's draining. And in some extreme cases, people will even feel physical symptoms like migraines or stomach aches or persistent cough, etc., 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 or simply they feel like they're drowning in depressive moods. And some of them even get diagnosed with clinical depression. So when we look at these symptoms and how low you might be feeling and how disillusioned perhaps you've become with the company that you work for, or even the industry as a whole, you don't need to be a genius to say, listen, something needs to change. You can't continue like this. It's unsustainable and it's extremely taxing on your mental, emotional, physical, and energetic health. And when I say this, I remember a really famous Jim Rohn's quote, which goes, if you don't like how things are, change it. You're not a tree. Always gets me when he says it like that. However, easier said than done, right? That's probably why you're listening to this podcast. And here's the thing. While there are these super clear aspects of your current situation and clear reasons showing that you are unhappy, why you're unhappy, that you're not excited for the future, that you want to leave yesterday, there's also the other side of the coin, and that's fear. Many different fears, actually, wearing all kinds of different colorful robes. And all of those gremlins, if we were to summarize them, gremlins will have a field party the minute you think about changing. And God forbid you are actually considering a complete 180 shift where you are dreaming of changing to a super unrelated, different industry compared to what you're currently doing. This is like what gremlins love the most. And in that case, when someone is telling you, hey, change, you're not a tree, it can honestly feel a little gaslighty because we are faced with all of these fears that simply attack us, right? Because there are so many things to consider when we're doing a complete switch. We have so many question marks, but the biggest and most paralyzing fear, at least that I've seen, are all the versions of imposter syndrome that come up when people are considering that 180 shift. And this is what many of you, if you're in that path, make career change mean. And I've heard it many times. I did not come up with this. So people will say things like, I will have to start from zero. I know nothing about this new path. I will have to start from scratch. It will take me forever to build myself up and achieve the level of income or success that I like to have, and so on and so forth. And all of these thoughts feel very heavy and very true. They're believable. And they may end up attacking you to the point where you drop your efforts or go back to maybe trying to convince yourself that your current job maybe not that bad. I mean, it's not horrible. Right? Probably your soul and your heart are telling a different story. But notice the black or white thinking there, all or nothing. I will start from zero. I know nothing. I will be nothing. And as you can tell yourself, as you hear this is a very pervasive and very toxic way of looking at anything in life. the black or white, all or nothing. And here's what I have to tell you. These all or nothing thoughts are not true. They are thought errors. They're old programming in your brain that you're projecting on this new potential career path. And it's not fair. But because you might believe them, because you are not questioning them, then you are not able to see or even open up to the possibility of how the opposite could be true for you. And that is why, exactly why being aware of your blind spots and being able to continuously make space for perspective shifts is life-saving, is such a vital skill to have. So how is the opposite true? How are you already equipped for this path, even if you don't have any direct experience in it? And at first, your brain will resist these questions massively because you have not been asking yourself these questions on purpose yet. It's a completely new way of thinking, and it takes more energy to actually question yourself like that than just going downstream along with the old belief systems, even if they're hurting us. That's the path of least resistance. And since we were little, it was hammered into us. I either have a very expensive piece of paper that proves my worthiness to be employed in this field, or I don't. And there's nothing in between. There's nothing in the middle. If I don't have this diploma or certificate from an overpriced institution, I'm not worthy to even consider certain careers. And market conditions are also constantly reinforcing this flawed narrative. Oh, you don't have a master's degree? No, you can't clean our floor. You can't be a cleaner. You need a master's to do that. But PhD would be ideal, actually. It's ridiculous. F with that, honestly. And of course, I'm generalizing here, and there are exceptions. If you go into medical profession, of course, there will be rigid training and years of studying, and you will have to gain technical specific knowledge to be able to, say, perform a surgery. That makes sense. However, that does just change the fact that the current educational system is elitist. It's not inclusive or by any stretch of imagination empowering. And this is not coming from, my resentment because I didn't get degrees. I have many degrees and they taught me zero. That's why I'm saying this. What I'm trying to highlight to you here is that while there will be temptation to focus on the technical skills that you may not have yet, because that's how we've been trained to think about a new path, I am inviting you to actually focus on the most important part, which is your innate qualities, your gifts, your abilities that already make you beautifully equipped for this new career path. You know how I know? Otherwise, it would not be calling you right now if it wasn't your calling. All of those aspects, all of those little things that you're naturally good at, that you're interested in, that you research and learn for fun, all of these elements you completely take for granted about yourself that go unseen by you because you assume that everyone is like that. Guess what? They're not. You just haven't taken the time to explore these unique aspects about you and acknowledge them. That's why I'm such a fan of blueprint work that I do with my clients. And that's essentially stacked up evidence designed for an aligned career path. And when they go through the process, they start seeing it for themselves by analyzing the skills that they love, the things that interest them, that motivates them, the impact that they want to create. When they ask for feedback from others, they're always so surprised realizing just how much they were downplaying the mastery at many of these qualities. And when you're a career shifter, you need to focus on these. First and foremost, that's your first task. On how you already, today, in this very moment, as you're listening to this podcast, are made for this new career. How everything has been preparing you and leading you to the great work of your life. And I can give you a personal example here. When I was back in finance, for the longest time, I could not admit to myself that my path, everything about me was leading to the work of service and working with people the way that I do now. I had so much resistance, you guys, to considering a path of either psychology, therapy, or coaching, or any other modality that would allow me to be of service. It felt like completely new, unfamiliar universe. I was so incredibly unaccustomed to these fields or the way that people make money or build their careers here. I was used to profit margins and bottom line conversations and cold hard maths decisions and business strategy discussions and process improvement. And while deep inside, I was so incredibly sad, I was unmotivated, I just felt flat in that world that felt so cold to me, but that was the world that I knew. That was all I knew. And thinking of changing career into something like coaching or therapy felt inconceivable. It felt like such an elusive world compared to finance or management consulting. And don't get me wrong, they are very different. And while everything about me was pulling me towards this direction, it took me several years to start surrendering to it because I had judgment. And as I speak about this in this podcast, I had to go through many ego dips to start embracing this path, which, by the way, I now adore. And I'm so thankful to the past Vilma who decided to do the work and unpack these fears and the conditioning. And here's when it started to change for me. When I, as opposed to listing all the reasons why this would be such a massive, dramatic pivot for me and how surprised everyone will be, because I was playing in my head, right? What will people say? And by the way, all of those thoughts that I attributed to other people were obviously my own thoughts and fears that I had about change. They had nothing to do with these people. So that's also a good exercise. Write down every single thing you think that people will say or think about your change. Write literally specifically, make a list and ask yourself how the opposite is true or how actually these people really don't give an F about what you'll be doing. So going back to my example, so instead of feeding the gremlins with all the reasons why this would not work for me, I started asking, how am I already doing it? How am I already capable, equipped, prepared to do this work? The change in these questions I was asking myself opened up the door to so much awareness. I saw how I was essentially already holding a lot of space for everyone in my life. How people were already coming to me for advice or guidance. I was the helpline to many of my friends. I would be on calls all the time. How all that I was consuming and fascinated by were mostly only about behavior psychology, energetics, how my most engaging, fascinating, time flies kind of conversations were always with people who too were interested in self-development. I was already leading a life of a coach. I was just lacking technical knowledge, tools and skills, and some principles to be able to translate it into a viable career option for myself. And notice the difference in feeling between I'm already a coach, I just need to study more and gain education and experience to serve my clients in a safe way, versus what I previously used to think, I'm switching from finance to coaching. What the F? Everyone will laugh. I don't even know where to start. Such a massive difference that's available for you to right now if you start asking yourself different questions. Huge difference. And I don't want you to think that, I was lucky or my story is an exception to the rule. I work literally only with career changers. All of my clients are people who are in the midst of a career change, and I see the same exact transformation in every single one of them. The moment where it all clicks for them and their eyes light up, where the programming drops, the veil of old paradigms, of old socialized limitations drop, and people realize that they don't need to do something to earn their career by following some outdated rules. They just need to connect to the heart, hear their soul whispers, and the rest, the technical aspects of the new career becomes easy. Honestly, then it's like a fun fest. Can you believe it? I remember when I had that light bulb moment for myself. I enjoyed studying for my coaching certifications so much. I loved doing the homework. I had so many aha moments, learning the theory, adding to my knowledge. It was such an expansive experience for me because the studying was aligned to my truth and my blueprint. Unlike, by the way, the experience many of us probably have when we were studying or training for careers that were lukewarm at best and vomit worthy at worst. You, my friends, already have unconscious competence, meaning that you are not an imposter. You are simply not aware yet how competent you already are to excel at this new career that you're dreaming of. Your job now is to turn that unconscious competence into conscious competence, into conscious knowing. So if you already identified a path for yourself that you like to take, or you have a sneaky suspicion which direction you'd love to go, I want you to ask these questions. And as per usual, the best is if you wrote them down. How am I already equipped to do well at this career? And here I really want you to think of skills you love using, and especially soft skills, because these tend to be super overlooked, again, because we tend to prioritize hard skills or technical knowledge. But I want you to think about soft skills, such as nonverbal communication, empathy, storytelling, friendliness. These are soft transferable skills. Okay? Another question. How have my life experiences shaped me and taught me already to excel at this new career? If I look back and start connecting the dots backwards, how has everything been leading me to this work, this path, this career, this business idea? Another one. How am I already unofficially, low-key, doing this or performing the tasks this career would entail? This is a really good question that opens up so many blind spots. Another one. What do people often compliment me on that I completely take for granted? What is a persistent pattern in the feedback that you get? How do I feel when I think of making this career into a full-time pursuit? What is the feeling when I truly drop all the fears, when I truly drop all the ifs and hows and whens and timelines and markers, everything, and I just focus in on the core of this career and imagining that I could actually be doing this full-time and making a beautiful living out of this? How does it feel? How is this career essentially getting paid for being myself? How could this be true? I want you to ask yourself and sit with these questions. Actually, I'm going to maybe add them into these show notes so you can copy them. I'd even advise you to actually compile your answers into one big list of reasons why you are made for this path. So those reasons could start sinking in until they become your new beliefs about what you could create for yourself. Have that list, revisit it if you can daily. Read it through and feel it, sit with it, marinate in it. Also, another practice that I like to offer you, again, this is part of the holistic career change process that I walk my clients through, is getting practical hands-on experience with or around people who are experts in this new career path. You being on the ground, whether shadowing or interning, will be another proof to you just how many transferable skills and innate abilities you already have that you were completely discounting. How competent you already are. It works like magic every time to unveil those big blind spots you might have had around your capabilities. So practical experience is going to be the second step. So compile that list of reasons by answering these questions, get as specific as you can, and get that practical experience. And when you put those two together, I promise you, Your new dream career will feel like an actual, doable, viable next step versus an unattainable dream. Those two together will unlock the door for action, strategy, ways how to get that technical knowledge. It will be much easier. And as per usual, do reach out and share with me on Instagram about your experiences, about your realizations. I'm always here for you. I'm always cheerleading for you. You've got this. Have a good week. Thank you for spending time with me today. If you'd like to take this work further and have my one-on-one support in changing careers using my easy holistic process, head over to the show notes and book your consultation call to be added to the waiting list to work together. Can't wait to meet you.